Hello, fellow risk takers, and welcome to my worst investment ever. Stories of loss to keep you winning. In our community, we know that to win in investing, you must take risk, but to win big, you've got to reduce it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on a mission to help 1 million people reduce risk in their lives. And that mission has led me to create the Become a Better Investor community. In the community, you get access to our global asset allocation strategies and stock portfolios, our investment research, weekly live sessions, and the risk reduction lessons I've learned from more than 500 guests. Go to myworstinvestmentever.com right now to sign up. Fellow risk takers, this is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz of A Stotz Academy. And today I am here with featured guest, Vijay Pravin. Vijay, are you ready to join the mission?
Absolutely, Andrew. I'm excited to be in one of the craziest podcast titles that ever. So I'm really looking forward to interacting with you in the next.
Vijay, you're one of the brave ones that says yes to the craziest podcast title out there, my worst investment ever. So let me introduce you to the audience. So Vijay is founder and CEO of bitsCrunch, a blockchain analytics company focused on securing the NFT ecosystem. He has a master's in electrical engineering and information technology, and he is a 3 times TEDx speaker. Vijay, take a minute and tell us about the unique value that you bring to this wonderful world.
Thanks again for the lovely introduction. So yeah, like you said, I hold a master's degree in Munich, living in Munich, the city of Oktoberfest for the last decade. I'm here for the last 10 years, adding a lot of value in terms of, I have brought bitsCrunch right from scratches, and now we have raised over $6 million and doing a lot of things in the blockchain space, particularly in the NFT space. And then beyond that, I love to inspire people. To give a quick glimpse, I'm recognized as one of the top 20 inspiring data professionals to be followed on LinkedIn. So I'd like to always inspire people, and I wish I keep going the same as you do.
Yeah. And why do you like LinkedIn as a platform? It's interesting because, some people may start a blog or something like that, but you've definitely made a lot out of LinkedIn.
Yes, absolutely. Now I'm being closely followed by 50,000 followers or something. Close to that number. But yeah, I love that platform just because it is highly professional. There are less room for scams or fake profiles in that, and it doesn't require any operations from my end, right? Because I don't have to manage a server, manage a blog, update anything, whatever it is, image, thumbnail, or whatever it is, right? I just can keep spreading what I learned at my job, what I'm doing at my job, and what I will be doing at my job.
Right? Interesting.
So that helps me reach out to a lot of people, and LinkedIn has a whole bunch of community, right? Because if I go with, let's say, vijaypravinblog.com or something, then I have to take care of a lot of operations costs.
It's interesting because I think many people don't see that value, but the value of this LinkedIn is basically your personal blog with traffic.
Exactly. So it comes with free traffic, and I don't have to reinvent the whole wheel. So it basically gives me free marketing, free platform, free operations, and everything. And all I have to do is just share what I know.
Yep.
Right? If I have done something, it worked, I share it. If it fails, I keep sharing it. So no matter what I do, I just keep sharing, and people started loving it, right? Come on, obviously, when you are being followed by 50,000 people, you question yourself, are you doing it the right way? And I feel that I'm on the right track, but yeah, let's see how it pans out in the future.
So let's talk briefly about what you're doing, just so the audience understands more. And you're working in the NFT space, and we know that it's been a tough time for cryptocurrency, let's say over the last 4 or 5 months, as we've seen prices fall and we've seen volumes dry up. How does that impact NFTs?
Yes. So non-fungible tokens, a new age digital asset class, is still far behind the general crypto space, right? I mean, I recently read a survey that says just around 5% of the world's population uses crypto. And I consider NFT as 1/5 of the crypto population. So that's basically 1% of the world's population. So when the market gets hit, obviously NFT traffic drops, NFT volume gets hit, but we detect NFT scams, NFT theft, NFT forgeries. So for us, it's more like an infrastructure project, right? So for us, external conditions doesn't really matter. So we
Right.
don't really care if NFT volume goes down or prices goes down. So we are an NFT analytics plus forensics entity that bring a lot of business insights to NFT businesses. And come on, Facebook has changed its name to Meta. And the company that has trillions of dollars in revenue, they're coming out and changing their name to Meta, tells where we are heading towards.
Right.
So that's.
And what advice would you give for someone that's a listener that hasn't gotten involved in NFTs? They're interested. They don't want to lose money and they don't want to get ripped off or anything like that, but they are interested. Like, where's a place to start, or what's something to look out for? What advice would you give being an expert in that area?
I mean, obviously, people say that DY or do your own research, right? I mean, that is something that I would like to start with.
Yep.
But obviously, there is much more than that is out there. So the space is evolving, and it's more like how mobile phones evolved, right? I still remember the first mobile phone that got into our hands. It was bulky, it was heavy, and it had numbers. You have to type a number several times to arrive at a certain letter, right? That is how we arrived at our early phones. And look at the progress. We used 2G, we used 3G, and now we are already staring at 5G. And then in some countries, there were already early tests going on for 6G technology, right? And then look at the streaming quality, look at the memory space. So we have to consider this space like an evolution. So people expect everything at the first go. That is where people don't get this space. Because if you ask Apple iPhone 14 as a first phone, that's totally impossible. It needs evolution. So I advise people to look at it that way. It's more like a baby that crawls first and then walks, stumbles upon, gets up, and then starts running. So that's how you should see this field.
Great. All right. Well, now it's time to share your worst investment ever. And since no one goes into their worst investment thinking it will be, tell us a bit about the circumstance leading up to it, and tell us your story.
So it's funny that my worst ever investment was in crypto by itself, even though I work closely to NFTs, which is predominantly a crypto space. So that was back when I graduated my master's. I had completed my master's in Munich, one of the famous universities. So there were a couple of friends who pulled me into this whole crypto space, and I literally bulked upon all my savings. I mean, I literally took close to 80%, 4/5 of my savings and other investments, and I got it into crypto. If I would have done that on, let's say, coins or tokens like Bitcoins or Ethereum, I probably wouldn't have even talked in this podcast. I mean, just kidding. Just kidding. But I made a mess. I made a total mess because people, whenever something new comes up, people try the new things, right? Because people consider that Bitcoin has already gone up to certain dollars. Probably it was around $2,000.
Right.
Even if I look at the pricing now, it's currently clocking around 20,000. So I still would have got 10x of my investment. But at that time, yeah, 2,000 investing on 2,000 worth coin is not smart. So I'll pick coins that were worth cents. That is when I got everything wrong. So I never did any research. I just followed my friends, my acquaintances. That was one of the blunders, I would say. Apart from what I lost as money, it was more of a knowledge. Why did I do that? I hold a master's from one of the top 20 universities in the world, and I lost several $1,000s in crypto without even doing my own research. So I consider that as a loss, but it happens. It happens everywhere, right? I mean, you purchase a property, you buy a land, something goes wrong. You buy an apartment, something goes wrong. So it can happen to anybody at any time.
Can
But the
you
thing is,
explain like what was it that caused you to do it?
yeah. So I mean, obviously, when people start getting into my head, obviously I live in Germany, so people from India, they always see euro as a bigger potential currency, and that is when I started diving into this cryptocurrency. And whenever I see lower prices, I jump into that. I invest a few dollars into that. But if I look back, I mean, I was crazy at that time, right?
Yeah.
I was just investing $500, $1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 5,000 here and there. I was not looking at what's going to happen or what am I going to get it out of it. It's not about the money. Forget about the money. But what are the sort of the projects that I'm investing? I never did any due diligence. So
and what happened to the money that you invested? Did you eventually take it out, or is it still in there, or did it disappear, or what happened?
oh, it's gone. Most of it is gone. I mean, close to 90% of it is gone because I invested on they call it shit coins, right? Shit coins, and I mean, my bad. I got into this ICO space, which also they call it scam nowadays. The initial coin offering, because everybody launches a coin, everybody launches a token back those days, and they just open a window where everybody invests and no returns, nothing. You don't really know where those people are. So that was one of the craziest point in time where I was. I kept on going. I mean, at the moment, if I see even a 5% return or 10% return, I was like, okay, this is giving me substantial returns. I should keep putting in money. So
right.
that was the biggest blunder.
So how would you summarize the lessons that you learned from this experience?
It's all about due diligence. I mean, now I'm a founder of a startup which has taken a lot of money from investors. So I know the due diligence processes that I have to go through for every investments that I take. So I should have done that. So there was no proper due diligence from my end. It was not about the research, right? I never even looked at their names, their Google searches. I never spent even a minute on who was the founder, who is behind those projects, what was the brain behind that project, and what is the potential. I didn't even see those things, and spending time, right? It's you earn your hard-earned money in like studies, work, internships, or thesis, or whatever it is, and then you end up spending it without even any due diligence. So that is something that I would advise people not to. And those are lessons that I took it for my entrepreneurial journey, right? Because now I am a founder of a crypto company. So look at this, crazy, because I lost a lot of money. Anybody else would have been fed up with this space and would have ran away or went into Internet of Things or 5G technology or any other technology. But I somehow had a hope that, okay, the mistake was mine, not them. Right? I didn't do any research. I didn't do any due diligence. I was never into it. I didn't research about the founders, the company. Was it listed? Was it a legal entity? Do they have an entity? Of course, I never did anything. And how can I blame a technology? So that the fault was mine, and that is when I groomed myself, and I'm glad that I'm the founder and CEO of bitsCrunch, which is which has already got 6 million, over 6 million in investments, and we are already clocking revenue as well, which is good.
Yeah, fantastic. Maybe I'll share a couple things I take away. The first thing is I just would like to talk about the concept of energy. And I read a book many years ago called Your Money or Your Life. And basically it talked about thinking about spending as energy. Don't think about, so when I buy a TV, I don't think it's going to cost me $500. I'm going to think it's going to cost me, 20 hours of energy. And it really makes a difference when you start to think, is that really worth that much energy? So I think the first thing, and you mentioned it about, time that you spent and all that, but I just think energy is something that, you have to be really careful about. So that's my first thing I was thinking about. The second thing is, I'm always skeptical. I have a little rule that people ask me when they say about investing. I say, never invest in something that somebody told you about. Now, most people are like, well, how the hell am I supposed to figure out what to invest in? Well, that's part of the point, that's what real investing is you've got to figure it out. And the second thing I would say is that it's when people are calling you, they're talking their own book, whether they're trying to make money from you or whether they're trying to validate an opinion that they have and support that opinion that may not be based upon research either, or it may be. Just doing research isn't enough to guarantee success, even, in the crypto space. And then the other thing I wrote down was emotion. It's so easy to get caught up when it seems like, this is the new thing and all that. And I'm a rock when it comes to that. I don't get caught up in that emotion. So I think that those are kind of my lessons that I take away from. Is there anything you would add to that?
I mean, those are the absolute crunches of what I just shared. And emotionally being strong is what I learned over the years, because at that time of investing, I was around early 20s, probably mid 20s. And that is when you just go follow the line, right? Without even knowing what is happening at the other end of the line, you just simply follow the others. And that is something that I learned over the years, which has made me emotionally much more stable, that I believe. And yes, so energy, that's a good lesson for me out of this podcast. Thanks for that.
So based upon what you learned from this story and what you continue to learn in your life, I want to think about a young man or woman who's wanting to invest in crypto. They're just about to pull the trigger. They don't know that much. They're in kind of the same situation were in. What's one action that you'd recommend for them to avoid suffering the same fate?
Time. Spend time, not money. Your money won't make 5x, 6x, rather 6 hours that you spend will save you from a heavy loss, right? So if you are thinking of making 6x on your investment on somebody's advice or some random blog post or whatever thing it is, that is not going to be a fruitful experience. Rather, I would say spend 6 hours to see if it can really be a 6x in some time. So give yourself time. Like I said at the beginning, you have to compare it with a mobile phone or a baby. You consider yourself as a crawling creation at the beginning, then try to walk, stumble upon. It's fine. You lose $100, $200, that is fine. But the moment you lose big chunk, it also emotionally drains you. That is when it's hard to get back to the feet and start walking again. So I want people to do their due diligence, do their own research, spend time. Time is money here.
It's not going to hurt to take time to build those positions. So just start slowly. All right. What is a resource that you'd recommend for our listeners?
Obviously, my LinkedIn profile. I keep sharing a lot of things about blockchain, cryptocurrency, data analytics, and a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm being followed by close to 50,000 people. So I guess that gives you the validation. to go
You're saying something
search.
valuable.
Exactly. So just go and search for Vijay Pravin Maharajan. It's
Yep.
my
And I'll have
full name.
Yep. I'll have a link to that in the show notes. So last
Awesome.
question. What's your number one goal for the next 12 months?
I'd like to let's say we have the token launch plan. So we want to go out there, educate more people when it comes to NFT space, and to be a good father on the family side, because I have a new daughter. She's just 15 months old. So trying to get out, start walking, and so on. So I'm enjoying this phase where I feel like carrying two babies at the same point. One is my daughter, one is the startup, which are equally of same age. And I wish to do justice on
Yep.
both ends.
Fantastic. Well, listeners, there you have it. Another story of loss to keep you winning. If you haven't yet joined the Become a Better Investor community, just go to myworstinvestmentever.com right now. As we conclude, Vijay, I want to thank you again for joining our mission. And on behalf of A Stotz Academy, I hereby award you alumni status for turning your worst investment ever into your best teaching moment. Do you have any parting words for the audience?
I enjoyed talking, Andrew. Thanks a lot. And what you're doing is really great for the community, because you save a lot of people from getting screwed up or getting lost. I mean, that is something that we do for the NFT space, and what you're doing is for the whole broader space. So our ideologies are aligned, and that is one of the reasons why I wanted to come on to this podcast. And thanks again for the invitation. I really enjoyed this conversation. Would love to would love to meet you in person sometime.
That's going to happen. That's going to happen. Well, that's a wrap on another great story to help us create, grow, and protect our wealth. Fellow risk takers, let's celebrate that today we added one more person to our mission to help 1 million people reduce risk in their lives. This is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz, saying, I'll see you on the upside.